Hello, and my name is Aslan Perry, and I'm here to talk to you all today about how cremation is on the rise and how it's starting to look like a better option than the traditional burial. Now, we all know that burials have been around since the dawn of man. We've always needed a place to take care of our deceased loved ones and to be able to grieve through that process. And I want to real quick just say that I used to be an apprentice funeral director. My funeral home specifically had a crematory on site, which means that we would cremate people inside of our building. Most funeral homes don't have that, so I did mainly cremations as well as burials. I did a few veteran burials, normal burials. I helped a lot of families with that, but it always seemed that cremations were on the rise. Now, in 2021, which is when I worked at the funeral home, cremations were on the rise of 57.5%, while burials were on the low of about 36.6%. And there's a few reasons for that. So, burials, of course, you need a good plot. You need a good casket. You need flowers. You need, of course, hair done on your loved one, makeup done on your loved one, casketing, a whole procession, planning if you want a graveside service, a memorial service. There's a lot of planning into it, and in that planning comes a high cost. Now, on average, a burial is about $7,000 to $8,000, and that's just a standard wooden casket, no extra added features, anything of that sort. There's no real choice, but it's still quite expensive. Now, if you want a good burial, it's about, $10,000, $14,000 if you want full choice and everything. Cremation, on the other hand, in our area, the cheapest price is $14.95, and that's a basic cremation service. I do want to add that cremation for the longest time did not allow for families to grieve, but the funeral home is making big steps towards being able to allow families to grieve, and that's why I think cremation is more on the rise and more. It's better for the families at the end of the day, which we will get into right now. So, like I said, a basic cremation is about $14.95. And with the basic cremation is that you would come in after we take your loved one in our care, you would sign paperwork, you would head home, we would call you in a few days and say, hey, Uncle Joey is ready to come back home to you, come in when you're ready. And once they come in, it's just an urn waiting for them. That's the standard cremation, and that's how there's a loss of being able to grieve in the sense that a burial would allow you to. But taking inspiration from burials, funeral homes have decided to allow for celebrations of life to happen, for memorial services to be added. That's a good way for families to be able to come together with friends, acquaintances, co-workers, lovers, anyone of the deceased person, to be able to meet them, talk to them, grieve with them. So with these services, they maybe add about $400 to $500 extra to the $14.95, which is still just about $2,000, which is still a lot better than a $7,000 funeral. And that's not even including burial plots. Burial plots are super expensive. They can range anywhere from like $500 to $3,000. And that's not including the already burial price with the casket and the procession, the holding, the makeup, all of that. It's truly insane. But back on topic, cremations. So the memorial services allow for families to gather. They can have a pastor come in. We will provide drinks, snacks, music for the loved ones. We can make pamphlets for them with the deceased loved one's obituary, with their photos, with photos of their family, with just all the things they did in their life. We also can include a register book, which of course it covers the same topics as a pamphlet would, but the bright side is that people can sign that and say, hey, I was here that day to support the family, to be a part of the family, to grieve with them. And like I said, they can bring in their own pastors, they can give eulogies. It's a good way for people to connect and realize that they're not alone in that grief. We can have the urn present with the loved one there so they can celebrate with their loved one there. We can have slideshows going across TVs in the chapel that show their loved one with them in pictures from the time they were a kid to the time they passed away, and show the growth of their life so that the family can see, grieve together. They can see the growth of life in front of them of their loved one. So at the end of the day, I feel like cremation is on the rise due to the fact that it's becoming more readily available. It's a lot cheaper than a burial. It's easier to plan. And there is still ways for people to grieve with it. And the funeral home notices that and is making changes to be able to allow for families to grieve in the way that they need and to do the cremation in the way that helps them the most. Thank you.